Imagine scoring a goal worth £1 billion. It seems impossible. However, on May 11th, 2003, a goal was scored that would forever change the world of football as we know it, starting a trend of oil wealth and mega-rich oligarchs funding clubs into the footballing stratosphere. This is the £1 billion goal. For context, I'll have to take you back to April 1982, 21 years before the £1 billion goal. Chelsea Football Club were in disarray. They were faced with huge debts and their reputation was in tatters due to hooliganism. The club's future was in doubt. In steps Ken Bates, the notorious businessman bought Chelsea for a staggering figure of £1. Now if you adjust for inflation, in today's market that would be £2.85, less than a Tesco meal deal. This for one of the finest teams in the country, albeit a team that were languishing in the second division. The 80s were a tough time for Chelsea, but after years of selling shrewdly to decrease their financial problems, they finally had their reward. After a few seasons, then bouncing through the first and second tier, Chelsea finally found a permanent place in the top flight. Upon winning the second division in 1989, Chelsea have not been relegated since. This would set them up for success in the 90s. During the 90s, with the advent of the Premier League, Chelsea were resurgent, signing notable players such as Dennis Wise, Gianfranco Zola, and even former Ballon d'Or winner Ruud Gullit. Chelsea finally began to get their hands on some long overdue silverware, especially picking up cup wins in Europe. They also won the FA Cup under the stewardship of Ruud Gullit, who took on the role as manager with the club, and eventually went on to further success under the management of another former player, Gianluca Vialli. On the face of things, everything seemed perfect, but unbeknownst to the fans, disaster was about to strike. This takes us back to 2003, the day of the £1 billion goal. All seemed well on the pitch. The upcoming game against Liverpool would decide who of the two teams would qualify for the next season's Champions League. Had Chelsea failed to win, they would have still qualified for the UEFA Cup. However, behind the scenes, financial disaster was close. On the day of the decisive match, Chelsea's then chief executive Trevor Birch told the players in the dressing room before kick-off that they needed to win to help the club avoid financial ruin. It was a simple task: win qualification to the Champions League or the club would go bust. Liverpool scored first and things were looking bleak. However, hope was restored when Jesper Gronkjear set up Marcel Desailly for an equaliser. Gronkjear himself would then grab the headlines again in the 27th minute when he scored the winner. The goal to secure Champions League football. The goal that saved Chelsea. Now this would be where most fairy tales end. The club is saved for another season in dramatic fashion on the closing day of the season. But for Chelsea, the fun was about to begin. "36-year-old Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich was searching the market for a football club to buy. More specifically, he was looking for a Premier League club. After eyeing up a few options, he was seemingly weighing up buying Tottenham or Chelsea. Upon the completion of the season, Chelsea had finished 4th. Spurs, however, could only manage a 10th place finish, making the choice of who to buy extremely obvious. It took him £140 million to buy Chelsea. In the 2 decades of his ownership, Chelsea went from a fairly successful yet inconsistent club to one of Europe's elites, winning multiple domestic and international titles. Chelsea made history in 2012 as they become London's first and only Champions League winners, a feat they repeated in 2021. The club, and in turn, the wider footballing landscape, had been revolutionised. However, it's important to look back on the event's catalyst, a Jesper Gronkjear goal in the year 2003. The £1 billion goal.